What's up everyone? In today's video, I'm going to talk you through 3 of my favorite spring lake flies that'll help you catch more fish when you're out on the water. So the first fly that I'm going to talk about is a very plain and simple olive damsel. This is probably one of my favorite all-round streamer style flies, and it's a fly that I really think you should have in your box all year round. And the reason for that is, even though this is a damsel, it's designed to be a damsel, there are so many different food sources in our lakes that are olive. So a lot of the bait fish in our lakes are olive, such as you've got damsels, you've got scud, you've got snails, and it's a fly that just works all year round. The beauty of this fly, it's not too bright, it's not too big, so you can fish it a range of different ways. I can fish it nice and slowly with a team of nymphs, fish it very much as a nice damsel nymph, very nice relaxed way to fish. But then in winter, I can also fish it with another streamer or a blob or something like that, and you can fish it quite quickly and fast and aggressively, and the fish chase it and eat it really, really well. So it's a great all-round searching pattern that I highly recommend you have in your box. So the weather's getting warmer, the water temperatures are increasing, and with that there is just more and more insect activity. Just like there are more damsels around in spring, there are a range of other insects that start to come off. There's midge already hatching. They hatch pretty much all year round, but we get lots of mayfly, we get caddis, and for that reason, having a small nymph option is so important. And for me, as far as nymphs go, I love fishing crunchers. So what is a cruncher? It's a normal sized nymph with a little hackle around the front. I find they're a really good generalist pattern that cover a lot of bases. Now I fish them in 2 different colors. I like to fish brown, and then I like to fish black. Black is generally the color I fish if the water's slightly off color or there are a lot of midge around. And then I find I like brown when there's a lot of mayfly around, when there's caddis around, fish are eating them. That is my go-to. And I also fish both of them at the same time because, they're just slightly different shades, and there's a little bit of contrast between the 2. So how do I fish them? Very simply, on a floating line, I slowly retrieve them, just staying tight to them. I also fish them under an indicator sometimes or under a dry. Fish eat them really, really well static. Like I said, they're very similar to, a lot of the nymphs out there that you've probably fished. But for me, they're just such a confidence fly. I love the profile of them. They've won a lot of competitions for me here in Australia. So I'm always going to tie one on because it's just my go-to nymph, in any scenario. And with more insects around in spring, you got to have one there. So the third pattern that I think you have to have in your box is obviously going to be a dry fly. With so much insect activity around, the fish are going to start to look up, and you're going to get conditions when they rise. When they start rising, I'm normally already fishing nymphs. I'll be fishing a damsel and a cruncher or a couple of crunchers, and I'll, definitely try and cover the rising fish with those. But if they're not eating the nymphs, then I definitely want to be fishing a dry. And the dry that I always go to is a possum emerger. Now, for those, overseas or, not in Australia, it's essentially a loop wing emerger. It's tied completely out of possum. And why this fly is so good is it's nice and small, it sits low in the water, and it doesn't imitate anything exactly. It's just a great generalist fly. So you can have fish midging, eating mayfly, eating caddis, eating anything. And, if you throw a possum emerger at them in the right conditions, you've got nice tippet, it's presented well, the odds are they're going to come up and eat it. This is a fly that I just have to have during mayfly time because, when the fish are eating canids early in the morning or they're eating more of like the Highland duns later in the day, it's a fly that just catches both of them. So make sure your presentation's good with a possum emerger and then another dry. I normally fish, this on the point, on the end, and another dry fly like a English hopper or a sedge hog or something else above it. With a team of dries and a possum emerger on there, you're going to catch a lot of fish when the fish are up and rising. I hope you enjoyed hearing me talk through 3 of my confidence patterns in spring on our lakes here in Australia. I really wanted to do this video just to highlight how simple the flies can be. For me, it's just about having a nice, concise range of flies that cover the bases that you need and allow you to then focus not on the fly, they allow you to focus on the fishing. What's the lake looking like? What's the wind? Where do I think the fish are going to be positioned? How am I going to be presenting the flies? If you're fishing the damsel and a nymph, what speed do the fish want it at? What depth do they want it at? If you're fishing the dry fly, am I fishing it static? Do the fish want the dry moved? All of that stuff's really, really important, and having good, simple flies that you're confident in allows you to worry about all that other stuff. As always, I hope you enjoyed watching. Don't forget, give the video a like if you did, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. All the flies that I talked about in today's videos, you can purchase them at the Fly Life shop, and I'll pop a link in the description below, so head down there, check that out. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys out on the water next time.